Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Mackenzie and I'm here with...
I'm Sam.
And he's going to be helping me out today. So what we're making today is a big cookie cake. So what I have already is I have my hair up, my hands washed, and my apron on, so we're going to get right to it. So what I have here with me is 1 2/3 cup of flour, 1 egg, half a cup of butter, half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt, 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 1/4 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and then 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. So first, I'm also going to explain what electronics and what utensils I'm using today. So I have a whisk with me today and 2 types of spatulas. One is a larger one and one is a smaller one. I'll get closer into that later. I'm also using a cast iron skillet is what's going to go in the oven for my big cookie cake. So first, I'm going to start off with my Cuisinart kitchen tabletop mixer. I have the paddle attachment on right now. What the paddle attachment does is usually for beating sugars and butter. So what we're going to put into here first is my melted butter, as well as I'm going to go preheat my oven to 350 degrees. All right, now that that's preheated, I'm going to put both of my sugars in here. So I already have my softened butter, my sugar, and my brown sugar. And we're going to mix that on low. And what we're looking to get out of this is just tiny little clumps of brown sugar and butter that are mixed together. And while that's happening, I'm going to grab my 1 2/3 cup of flour. I'm going to add my baking soda, my baking powder, and my 1 teaspoon of salt. And while that's still incorporating, I'm going to grab my whisk here and just make sure everything's mixed together. And what we're really trying to aim for here is our dry and our wet ingredients. At first, we're going to keep that separate. And the reason for this is so everything can get combined on its own. So when we go together, it makes a nice and thick dough. All right, and while that's done, I'll show you what this looks like. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for some nice clumps. And then we're going to finish off our wet ingredients with my egg, making sure we get no shells in there, and then my 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Obviously, you can add more. It's honestly to desire. I like pretty vanilla cupcakes, so I put two pretty vanilla cookies, so I added 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And as that's mixing, I'm going to put together all my, right? And make sure that's blending really nicely. And keep in mind, everything that I'm making today is homemade, and I promise that homemade is better. All right. That's pretty incorporated. So this is my wet ingredients. This is what it looks like. If yours isn't looking like this, you might need to either add more vanilla extract or you might have overmixed. But it should be a chunky, light brown. So I'm going to start adding little increments of my flour, baking powder, and baking soda mixture. And we're going to mix that on low because we do not want to overmix. What overmixing could do could lead the cookies to collapse in the oven. And it also could lead to excess gluten, which would make the cookies really dense. All right, and as that's starting to come together, I'm going to add a little bit more. We don't want to overwhelm the cookie dough, so I'm going to only put little increments in at a time, like I stated before. And with the paddle attachment, it doesn't always get the outside of the bowl, so I might have to stop halfway here, grab my spatula, and just scrape down the sides to make sure everything gets incorporated. And I still have a little bit left, so I'm just going to finish this in. All right. And then I'm going to finish this. And what we should start to see here is the cookie dough clumping. The paddle should have a little bit of a hard time mixing as it is starting to become thick and dense. We're going to continue to mix. All right, and I'm going to stop there because I do not want to overmix, like I said before, because it could lead to excess gluten, which would make the cookies dense, as well as our cookies could rise in the oven, but then they'll collapse. So we'll have not a nice puffy cookie, we'll have a flat cookie. All right, I'm going to get my excess off of here. All right, and what you should have here is a sticky consistency of dough. It shouldn't be too sticky to the point where it will stick to your hands, but it should be sticky enough that it will combine with the cookie chips we're about to put in. So here I'm going to take my 1 1/4 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can use whatever chocolate chips you like. My favorite are the semi-sweet, and I think they go the best with cookies. And again, this technique that we're going to use, the reason we're not doing it on the handheld tabletop mixer is because it could obviously overmix it, like I said before, but also folding it in uses a lot of air. So rather than using the power of the mixer, I'm using my handheld to make sure we're not overmixing. I'm not getting too much air. All right, and then this is what it looks like. I have all my chips folded in and moved. And now I'm going to grab my skillet. And you can use any grease that you want for this. I'm going to use Pam, but you can use parchment paper, Spam, whatever you like. All right, and then I'm going to take it over a trash can and just lightly coat. You don't want to do too much, but you also don't want the cookie to stick. Make sure it's nice and glycerine. All right, and then I'm going to grab my cookie dough. We're going to plop it in here, like so. I'm going to press down. As you can see, it's not sticking to my hands too much, which is good. That's what we want. And if you do run into the fact that your cookie dough is too sticky and to the point where it's getting really stuck on your hands, you can add a little bit of extra flour, which should make sure it can combine really good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create a little bit of an edge. The reason we're doing this is it kind of creates like a crater for the bowl. So the inside here will rise and it'll look really nice. And also the sides will become like a crust kind of like a deep dish pizza. All right. And what we're looking for here is 20 to 22 minutes in the oven. And this is what it looks like. It has a nice side to it and enough room in the middle so it can rise. And we want this side to be nice and brown and crisp, and the inside to be nice and gooey and warm. So I'm going to come and pop this in the oven real quick. For 20 minutes. All right, and then I'll come back and see you later. We're going to do some powdered sugar. Hello, and we're back. So I'm going to make some powdered sugar frosting right now, which is going to go on top of the nice warm cookie. My cookie is still in the oven right now. I still got about 10 or 15 minutes left on it. So what we're going to do here is, this is a really easy recipe also. I make it all the time. It's my favorite. So I have about 3 cups of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, 1 cup of whole milk, my favorite type of sprinkles, and then 1 stick of unsalted butter. I prefer for you to use unsalted butter as it tastes better in the frosting, and you might have a salty frosting if you do end up using salted butter, so I prefer if you use unsalted. So I'm going to put in my powdered sugar, and then my 1 stick, and then I'm going to take my handheld mixer, and we're going to combine this. And also what we're looking for here is little clumps of the butter and the powdered sugar. So just going to keep mixing. Mix. All right. And what I have here is just little baby chunks of the butter and the powdered sugar that are going together. Like I said before, we're looking for little pebbles. The reason for this is because once we add the vanilla extract and the whole milk, it's going to add to a nice thick frosting. So this might take a second, so be patient. What you also can do with the powdered sugar is sift it. This might alleviate the amount of time for this. So what you also can do is sift it. And you don't actually have to use a sifter. What you could do is you could even use what I'm using right now, the handheld mixer. Stick it in the powdered sugar and just go around a little bit and it would sift it out. All right, and we're coming to a good end here. So as you see here, I have little clumps. So this is what we're looking for, little clumps within it. And now I'm going to take my vanilla extract, and I'm going to take a little bit of my whole milk. We're not going to use all of it yet, just because I'm not sure how much I'm going to need yet. This is all all right, and as you can see here, I'm already having some thickening happen. So that's why I wasn't going to use all the whole milk, because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need. And I'm going to turn up my mixer here a little bit and just keep whipping it. And what we're looking for is little peaks within the frosting. All right. And as you can see here, I have a thick buttercream. And I'm not going to need the excess milk that I used. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to take my buttercream frosting, I'm going to put it into a piping bag. And if you don't know how to use a piping bag, I'm going to show you. So this is my piping bag I'm going to use. It's just a plain disposable one. I have my coupler with my collar on top. I'm going to use my 1mm tip. That's my favorite one to use. And then I'm going to have my kitchen shears. And then one little tip is you can use this cup, which will make it easier to fill. So first off, what we're going to do is we're going to cut off the tip of this into a trash can. And then we're going to use our coupler. I'm going to stick it inside the bag, pressing it down. And what you're looking for is this. You want this to be cut. So only thing poking out is just a little bit of the white. So I'm going to have to keep cutting a little bit. You don't want to cut too much, because what could happen is frosting could pop out. All right, that looks about good. It's popping out, but not too much. And then I'm going to grab my tip and put this on top. And then my collar, and I'm going to screw this on tight. And what this does is so you can change out the tips in case you didn't like the tip that you were using, or you wanted to do different designs. And a little tip to fill the bag easier, I'm going to use this bag and put it on top of here. All right, and what this does is it leaves a little hole so you can easily fill the bag. And you can dye your frosting. I chose not to today because I'm going to use these pretty pink pearls. All right, and then I'm going to put this in here. Make sure I get it in there good. Because what can happen is if you don't press down here, you can create air bubbles within the piping bag. And that might lead to like it popping when you're trying to frost. So now that I got a good amount of frosting in here, press it down, make sure I got no air bubbles. And then I'm going to pop this in the fridge to chill it, and we're going to come back and I'm going to show you the cookie and how to frost it. All right, and we're back. My cookie just finished, so I'm going to go grab that out of the oven, and then I'm also going to grab my piping bag so we can finish off the look. Oh, this looks awesome. So this is what we have right here. As you can see, we do have a little golden brown on the outside, which is what we're looking for, and the inside is nice and gooey. So I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to grab my icing bag that was chilling. Okay. So for design here, I think I'm going to do a couple swirls on the outside, and then I'm going to finish it off with some icing pearls. Just going to go up and pipe through, go around and pipe through. Just going to keep going around the cookie. All right, and then I'm going to finish it off with some pearls. All right. And there we have it, a nice cookie cake. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Mackenzie Helbig, and if you like what you see here, go to my Facebook page at MH Bakes, and you can find more content like this. So don't forget, I am the owner of MH Bakes, so make sure to check out my profile, and you can see things just like this. Thank you so much. Now excuse me, I have to go feed a whole camera crew.